Mr. Yuriy Sardarov.
Yuri. My family's here tonight, so this is for them. My mother was 20 when she was harassed at a bus stop. I was 1.5 and firmly tucked in her arms because she dropped me once and vowed to never again. I laughed a lot as a baby, but in that moment, I was silent, she recalls. This is Baku, Azerbaijan, the capital, August 1989. The mountainous region of Karabakh, bordering Azerbaijan to the west, Armenia to the east, is embroiled in armed conflict. Both sides bleed for it, while the USSR crumbles around them. As tensions rise, rural Azeris rise up. Emboldened by their patriotism, armed by their government, fueled by their hunger, they set their gaze upon Baku, the crown jewel of the Caucasus. An international melting pot of culture, religion, science, and art, it's an epicenter of the liberal elite and a hub of Armenian blood, which is exactly what courses through my father's veins, which is exactly why I was labeled a bastard, my mother a whore, and why mere months from that balmy August day at the bus stop on January 12th, 1990, this singular distinction would cause a bloody massacre on the streets of Baku, a pogrom that cleansed hundreds of Armenians where they slept, where they ate, where they prayed. But I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about the beatings or the politics. I don't want to talk about the elderly woman my grandmother drank tea with who was cast off her high-rise balcony. I don't want to talk about the men holding rough-shod batons and their chins high, walking into hospitals, scanning the names of the newborns. What I want to talk about is the Russian grandmother who witnessed what was happening that day at the bus stop to my mother and me, who grabbed my mother's hand as we stepped onto the crowded trolley, calmly led her to a seat and told her, "I can hardly hold them off for long. You should run as soon as the doors open, daughter." Who smiled and stood, arms upheld to shield us from the threats and the spit. She asked for nothing. I want to talk about our Azeri neighbor and family friend who happened to work as a government driver and what he whispered to my grandfather amidst casual smiles to the passing crowd. "Your name is on a list. They're coming for you and I can't stop them. Gather every sharp point you can find, hide them around every corner, and come night, leave as fast as you're able." He asked for nothing. I'd like to tell you about a family friend from Georgia whose blood shielded him from the chaos, how he drove my mother, my grandmother, and myself to the airport and made idle chatter with the militia as we anxiously boarded our plane out of the country with a single suitcase and half our family so as not to rouse suspicion. He asked for nothing. The Azeri train conductor who, when thugs forced their way on to examine passports, pushed the other half of my family into a tiny compartment, put his finger to his lips, and locked the door. "That one's jammed shut," he professed to the armed men. "Hasn't opened in ages." He asked for nothing. There were relatives in Georgia that took us in, friends in Moscow that fed us while we applied for visas. Catholic Charities, the group that we matched with in St. Louis, Missouri, who helped situate us in a foreign land as political refugees. The older German lady that gave us our first bed, or the Armenian church and community that shielded us from the barrage of cultural uncertainty. All these people, and they asked for nothing. Amazingly, the first time I heard the story in its entirety was 1 week ago when I began researching for this speech. I came to my family with questions, and the answers were mired in pain and history. In the night since, I can't shake the image of my life resting on a knife's edge, teetering. But we came to America. The reason any of it was possible, America, where I learned math, read books in the yard, ate entirely too much ice cream. Beautiful, challenging America, who in the years following our emigration would confuse us, discourage us, even bankrupt us, but never terrorize us, who saved us, Sadly, this is only my story. Many more weren't so lucky, and even today, a child just like me, but born 30 years later and 100 miles south or west of my birthplace, may not be so lucky. And so for the 65 million refugees around the world, 21 million of whom are children, my America may not be theirs. But we're here tonight because we won't stand for that. We're here tonight because we recognize that the only terror that refugees carry is the terror they've escaped from. Because the desire to help has no agenda and thus will forever be stronger than the need to destroy. Because my story and the future we must commit to is not about good people who did nothing. It's about good people who do everything for nothing. Thank you.